welcome to today's video and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, then welcome, and if you are a returning viewer or subscriber, then welcome back. I hope you're all well, and like I said, thank you for joining me for today's video. As you will see from the title, it is my long-awaited birth story. It's taken me a little while to come on here to do it, purely because it wasn't the best. So before we talk about anything, I am going to put out there, this isn't what I would class as a positive birth story. So if you're like looking for a more positive story, then this video isn't for you. And also, I know a few people on here that follow me or like watch on here are going on to have a baby at Bedford Hospital. So if you don't want to hear about my experience, then I would click off now as well. It's probably not like helpful for that, because I don't want to, I think you can go in and make your own judgment. But yeah, mine wasn't a positive experience, and I will obviously go into that. But I wanted to put a little warning at the beginning just to say, like, if you want a positive story or you're under the care of Bedford right now, then I probably wouldn't watch this. So just click off now, I will not be offended. And thank you for watching the first minute and a half. But yeah, this is my birth story. But before we get into that, if you do like my channel and you do like my content, please do consider subscribing. You just click the button underneath this video, click subscribe, and then if you click the bell, you will be notified of all my future uploads. So thank you very much. It's totally free and just takes a few moments. So if you go on to do that, then thank you. As you can see, this is a birth story. So I have recently had a child. Obviously we have Tommy, who's just over 2.5, and then we have our 3-week-old baby boy. So I can link I'll link Tommy's birth story down below, and like his neonatal journey video down below actually as well. So if you wanted to reference those ones, then obviously you can if you wanted to. But if you watch that one and then you watch this one, you'll see both my experiences were not positive at Bedford. But like I said, we will get into that. So first up, I obviously just want to say this isn't like a birth vlog. There's no footage of me like giving birth or anything, which when I go through everything, you'll kind of understand why. I'll add some photos throughout the video of like the journey and bits happening, and I'll kind of probably just put photos here. But yeah, this is not, you know, you're not going to see me like pushing or anything. It's just me recounting the events of the day. So we'll start from the beginning. He was born on the 13th of May, which was a Saturday. Tommy was also born on a Saturday, so that was quite nice that they were both born on a Saturday. So like the night before, I felt like fine. We went to KFC for dinner. We had like a few last minute bits I wanted to get from Boots for like my hospital bag, and I was like, oh, it's fine, you know, I've got another week till my due date, you know, absolutely fine. I'd say I felt like uncomfortable on the Friday night, but there was no sort of indication that like labour was imminent. So, you know, usual night, I put Tommy to bed. Looking back, I must have had a feeling, because I suddenly got really emotional putting Tommy to bed, and I was like, you know, mummy loves you, and if mummy's not here in the morning or has to go like one night, you know, it's not, I've not left you, but mummy's got to go and get your baby brother. And he was like, okay. And I sort of stayed in his room longer than I usually would have, and I like proper gave him a cuddle and a kiss. So I think something in my body was telling me that something was coming. So, you know, usual night, watched Grey's Anatomy, done all my creams, went to bed. And at about 4 in the morning, I woke up and like was like, oh, I need a poo. So I went downstairs, so not to wake anyone up, with like the lights and the toilet flashing and everything, and done my business. Came back to bed and was like, still feel a bit uncomfortable, still feel like I need a poo. So I went back downstairs, nothing was happening. And then I came back up and Adam had sort of stirred and was like, what's going on, are you alright? And I was like, I don't really feel well, like I've been to the loo but it's not taken the uncomfortableness away. And he was like, would you think this is it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And whilst I'm like thinking about it, like the pain's getting worse, like nowhere near as bad as it gets, but like I just felt really uncomfortable and it was coming in waves. So I was like, I think something might be happening here. And about 5:15, I sort of realised I didn't just need a poo anymore, like this was it. So Adam rang my mum and dad and woke them up because my mum was also my birthing partner as well as Adam, and my dad was going to look after Tommy. So we rang them and they were coming over. So in the midst of all of that, I rang the hospital and was like, I think this is happening, guys, what do you suggest? And she was like, come in. So I started timing my contractions and they were about 2 to 6 minutes apart, like, so they were a little bit all over the place. So, you know, fine, they were manageable. You know, they were uncomfortable but they were manageable. Like I just was walking and breathing and, you know, they were manageable. So we were waiting for my mum and dad. Adam was getting all stuff in the car, literally like a headless chicken, like running around the house like, oh. And at that point I was getting quite upset in the kitchen. I was like, can I just go and say goodbye to Tommy? Like, can I go and give him a kiss? And Adam was like, no, you'll wake him up. You know, we can't wake him up. Like, otherwise, you know, then you've got to leave him and that's even worse. And I was like, yeah, fair point. But I was like, I just want to see him one last time before I go. And like, I was just a mess. So we didn't do that. My parents got here. Me, my mum and Adam got in the car, left Tommy with my dad, and Tommy didn't wake up till like 9:30, so what a dream for my dad. We got to the hospital. I listened to Bon Jovi all the way there to try and calm me down. It worked for a little while. They examined me. Both times I was examined 1 centimetre. And at this point my contractions were about 3 minutes apart, so they were getting closer together. So she said, go for a walk around the hospital, you know, go up and down the stairs, get things moving, you know, do what you gotta do. So that's what I did. We went and sat, well, a lot of the hospital isn't really open, like the cafe or the shop or anything. So I walked around the hospital like from about 6:30 in the morning until 9, I think the cafe opened, and then we went and sat in the cafe. So these poor people, I'm just sat contracting in the middle of this cafe. But Adam and my mum hadn't eaten or had any drink or anything, so they done them and got food. I did not. So yeah, I was just sat contracting in the middle. I will pop the video here of me like sat having a contraction, like literally wanting to die. And you can see at the end like of that clip that I'm like, we need to go and get checked again. So we went back for a 3rd time, and they said we still don't want to admit you. Basically, you're still only like 1 centimetre. You're not meeting the criteria. Now they kept saying, well, just go home, just go home. And I said, well, no, my toddler's at home with my dad, so I don't want to scare my toddler, first of all, because at this point I was in quite a lot of pain. He's just going to want me, he's going to know something's wrong, so that's not going to help me relax. Plus, Tommy came within 14 minutes of my waters breaking. Now, my hospital is, 15 minutes away. So I'm not going to be able to be at home and relax, am I? So they were like, okay, well, just go in room 9. It's not a room like that's actually like usable. It was usable, it had like a bed in it, but it's not set up for like a calm, serene labour experience. So just go in room 9 and just like, go in there basically. They were saying I wasn't in active labour, so I didn't need like a proper room or anything. So I was like, fine, because I just wanted to not labour in the corridor anymore, and I was getting really wound up at this point. And we did keep telling them, explained why we didn't want to go home, explained why I wanted a room and I wanted to be admitted, and they just weren't listening. I said about Tommy being born so fast, and that my cervix for Tommy didn't even open until like he was literally being born, and they just wouldn't listen. Because Tommy's, if you watch my previous birth story, Tommy was that quick that like I was examined at changeover, at shift changeover, and they were like, no, your cervix is fine, you're not in labour, we'll just like dismiss you. No, that's not the right word. What's the word? Discharge you. But we're just waiting for all the changeover and handovers to happen, and then a consultant will come around and discharge you. And I was like, okay. And that was at 8:30, and Tommy was born at 9:14. So my cervix doesn't open until like my child's basically ready. But they just wouldn't listen. So I got put into room 9, which was actually the first room I went in with Tommy as well. And it had a bed in it, and it had a unused pool in it, and so I just walked around in the room, and I was, contracting and, living my best life. But still not admitted, so I didn't have like any wristbands or anything like that. They just, like they said, they just didn't want me labouring in the corridor. And whilst I was in reception, I could see that room 8 was taken, which literally hurt my heart. I wouldn't have been able to have it anyway, given how things went, but still, it just was like, oh, okay. And then, now I'm not sure of the timings-ish, I'm giving you rough timings. But after sort of lunchtime, I started being sick. I was sick 4 times, but there was quite a lot. Again, followed the same suit as Tommy. I was sick when I was not in labour with Tommy. So again, Adam was telling them like, this is exactly how it happens. This was what happened last time. She's in labour, and they were like, no, she's not in active labour. Like, it's fine. And at about 2 o'clock, they gave me pethidine, which, I mean, doesn't help the pain, but it just made me really sort of drowsy for a while. I say a while, probably about 2 hours, and then it wore off. Adam left the room at about 3 and was just like, oh, I'm just gonna go like stretch my legs, go for a wee. Like, just, I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, please don't, but if you're gonna, like, just do it. And I kept saying, like, what if something happens when you leave the room? What if something happens when you leave the room? He's like, no, don't worry, like, I'll be quick. He literally shut the door, my waters went. I say shut the door. He shut the door and had probably walked down the corridor. Then my waters went. So I was a bit scared at that point because Tommy came so quickly. Luckily, this one stayed put after my waters went. They weren't as gushy as Tommy's. Tommy's literally like flew out and like onto the wall opposite. This time it was just more of a stream of waters. But at this point, once my waters are gone, my contraction, oh, wow. Like, if I thought any of the contractions leading up to these ones were bad, like, oh my god, these were horrific, like horrific. And then, so I hadn't really had a midwife up until this point. It was just whoever answered the call buzzer if I'd rang it, came basically. And then at 3 o'clock they must have given me a midwife, and her name was Natalie. And I just want to say, if you get Natalie at Bedford Hospital, if you've carried on watching this, well done. If you get Natalie, you're very lucky, because she was the only one that actually listened to me. And she'd probably just been given like the short straw of, well, she's just down there, she won't give you any hassle, like just go and like see her. She just came in, she was like, my name's Natalie, I'm here to introduce myself, like just came to see how things were going. And at this point I'm begging for an epidural, because I knew I wasn't getting my water birth and everything like that, so I was begging for this epidural. And she was like, let's just see what's going on down there, like obviously we have to like check that you can have one, blah blah blah. So Adam was trying to get me off the bed, because I was like, I can't cope, the pain was just awful. And they suggested me going on the medicine ball. So I was like, okay. So Natalie's putting all the puppy pads, as I call them, on the floor and then over the ball for me to sit on. And Adam's got me on the ball, and he's like then stood behind me, and I just had this contraction where I was like, holy shit, like something's happening here. And I sort of like leant back on Adam, and I just had the urge to push, which I kind of did, my body did as well. And Natalie was like, did you push then? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. And she was like, right, I need to see what's going on, because obviously she'd just been told I wasn't in active labour. Whoever told her that is a fucking liar. Excuse my language. So yeah, she was like, right, let's get back on the bed, let me examine you, let's see what's going on. And at this point I'm still like, can someone just give me my epidural? Like, this is ridiculous, I can't cope. And even at this point, other midwives apart from Natalie I think sort of believed what was going on. They were like, no, you're not in active labour. And I was, that's a sure sign when the woman's like, I can't do this anymore, I just need to go, or I need all the pain relief. She's transitioning. And guess what I was doing? I was transitioning. So she gets me back on the bed on all fours, and gives me gas and air while she examines me. It turns out I've gone from nothing to 7 centimetres. And she's saying, yeah, I know you want to push, but because your cervix is still there, you can't really push against your cervix, because obviously it can cause damage to you and the baby. So I was like, okay. So they gave me the gas and air, and they say, like, when you're contracting and you want to push, focus on your gas and air and stop pushing. So I did that. They said I was really good at that, apparently. I mean, I was high as a bloody kite with the gas and air. I was so out of it. But Adam did say that they were like, wow, we haven't actually seen someone do this before. So I was like proper in the zone. I wasn't really listening or talking to anyone. I was just concentrating on not pushing. I think at one point they were trying to put the CTG monitor around me, but they couldn't find, like, well, they couldn't get a decent trace of him. So at no point from me going in that room at about 11:30 until this all kicking off, which was about 3:30, was he monitored at all. So he could have been doing anything in there for all I know. But I wasn't hooked up to any fetal monitoring, nothing. So yes, not happy about that, but we'll discuss that at the end. So yeah, they said we need to put a clip on his head. Now, I've seen these clips before and I'm not keen on them, but in the midst of everything going on, I just agreed to it because I wanted to know he was okay. And the only way to kind of do that was to have the clip on his head. So I agreed to it, and Adam agreed to it because I was kind of a bit in and out. So he was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah, just say yes. And they said like his heart rate does keep dipping. So they wanted to move me rooms because the room I was in wasn't set up for like labour. Basically what they do is they hook up your trace to like the reception or the nurse's station, so that if anything changes or, you know, goes a bit wrong or anything, they can see that and they can come in and assist. So I was transferred to room 7 and I was hooked up to like their main system. Technically still not admitted, but yeah, I was hooked up to the system, and in the midst of all this, like, consultants had started coming in and extra midwives. The midwife that told me I wasn't in active labour was there, and my God, I've never wanted to kick someone in the face so much in my entire life. While she was, you know, down that end near holding my leg, I was like, oh God, if I could kick you and get away with it, I would. I'm not an aggressive person, but let me tell you, I do not like this word. So yeah, I moved into room 7. I moved onto my back, which was one of the things, if you watched my birth like plan preference video, as you can see, all that shit went out the window. But I was hooked up, so obviously people could see what was going on. His heart rate did keep dipping. Once they'd sort of like set me up and I was on my back and I had my gas and air and I had like my thing hooked up to me to do my heart rate, they examined me again and I was 10 centimetres, so I could push. So it was now about changing it up. So I couldn't use the gas and air when I was pushing. I only had to use it between pushing, which I didn't like that. I much preferred using it when I was contracting. But anyways, they wanted to put the suction cup on his head to get him out because I was pushing, but then he just like wasn't coming down as much as that. He was coming down, but he wasn't coming as fast as they wanted him to. So they said, you know, the consultant wants to put the cup on his head to help get him out, and I was like, okay, fine. She literally had this cup, it was out of like the packaging and everything, in her hand, and all of a sudden I think my son just was like, yeah, no, we ain't doing this, and he was still coming, and I was pushing, so we didn't actually have to have the cup in the end. Apparently as his head was coming out, he done like a full 360 turn, and that's quite rare. So usually they should be looking down, and then as they come out they look up and then come out, and he just didn't. He just kept going and then came out. His head came out, which was just very painful. The ring of fire. I thought I'd avoided it. I don't know why. Like, I think I was having this conversation in my own head because I couldn't really focus. Like, thank God for Adam. He was just like up here in my ear, like telling me everything they were saying. I couldn't focus on what they were saying, so I just focused on Adam. And yeah, I've never been so grateful for my husband in my entire life there. But I was like pushing his head out. Natalie had like her finger down there and was like, right, push into my hand, like you can feel my hand, push into my hand, which was actually really helpful. And I was like talking to myself, I was like, right, there's his head, I can feel his head coming out. Oh God, this is a bit uncomfortable. Oh my God. Because I don't think giving birth actually hurts. It's the contractions that hurt, apart from the ring of fire. So my next point is, I'm like, okay, his head's coming out. Oh, this is a bit uncomfortable. Maybe I've missed the ring of fire. Like, it's fine, his head's nearly out. No. As I thought that, I was like, oh, holy shit, there it is. My God. And she was like, breathe, and I was like, okay. And then, you know, usual, pushed his shoulders out. I can't remember, and no one else can really remember, but I'm gonna look when I do get my notes. I don't know if his shoulders like got a little bit stuck. I vaguely remember them saying something about his shoulders and then like her hand going in, but I was so like out of it, who bloody knows at this point. So I am requesting my notes, but we'll talk about that at the end. So I'll see, we'll come back to that one. And what really annoyed me, so whilst I'm pushing, they're saying, you know, his heart rate is still dipping. And we were like, yeah, so I'm trying to get him out. And they said, oh, well, where's like his monitoring from when she's been in? And they were like, well, we don't have it, she wasn't monitored. So I'm mid to giving birth, but I'm fuming at this point, because I'm like, well, you know, you haven't given me the standard of care that I like deserve here. And the consultant wasn't very impressed either, I don't think, with the fact that that hadn't happened either. So we move. That will likely go into my email, but anyways. So he like came out, you know, pushed his shoulders out, he flopped out. He came straight onto me, which was like something I really wanted, and Adam was very like quick. He was like to say that to them. They were like, he's out, and he was like, put him straight on Elisha. So he came straight onto me, which was amazing. Obviously I didn't get out with Tommy, so that was lovely. She did delayed cord clamping for 5 minutes. I didn't ask for it, but she just done it, so that was fine. I didn't really mind. My mum cut the cord. Obviously they asked Adam, and he was like, oh, I done Tommy's, if Michelle wants to do this one, that's fine. So she did. I got the placenta injection, forgot how much that's done. And then she had to like push my belly to get my placenta out. That was really uncomfortable actually. Tommy's placenta, they just like tugged it a bit and it came out. This time she had to proper give it some welly, and I was just like, oh my god. So yeah, that wasn't fun. And then, oh, well, I didn't look at it either. I just was like, no, take it away. And then I had like a 1.5 to 2 degree external tear, but I think I had a tear to like the wall inside as well, so she did have to stitch that up. I used my gas and air for the injection because that was very, very uncomfortable. Once, I mean, she was down there doing my stitches, which from what I can gather, she done a very good job at. She offered me a painkiller, and I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, it does need to go up your bum. And I was like, no. But then my mum was there, and she was just like, you've just given birth in front of these people, like, she's literally gonna like pop it up your bum, you're not even gonna feel it, like, just take it, stop being so stupid. And I was like, okay. So I did have the painkiller, and I can confirm, if you were offered a painkiller up your bum after giving birth, bloody take it, because it was a dream. I'd hate to think how much more pain I would have been in had I not taken it. But we move. Of talking about my bum. And then my dad was had FaceTimed my mum and was like, oh, what's the update? And obviously had the baby with me, and he had Tommy, so I got to speak to Tommy, which made me so emotional. I was like, do you want to meet your brother? And he was like, baby, baby. And I was like, oh, which made me miss Tommy so much. But yeah, we just sort of stayed in the room after that, really. Yeah, I think I went for a wee. I got the baby dressed and in a nappy. What else did we do? I had a whole bar of dairy milk, like a big bar, because I was starving. And God, what else did we do? I got dressed into my pyjamas and like got my pads out and everything, because when I gave birth I was only in like one of the crop tops, so I was pretty naked. But yeah, I just got dressed and like got more comfortable. I cleaned my teeth because I've been sick so much that it was just not fun. But God, I'm trying to think what else happened. It was quite delayed, I don't really know why. So I gave birth to him at 6:01 p.m. and we didn't go up to the ward. I wasn't up in the ward until like 10:20 at night. So yeah, there was a bit of a delay. I don't know whether it's my notes or whatever, who knows, but we'll find out when I get them. So yeah, we just sort of chilled in the room. We FaceTime, like a couple of people have been like, oh, anything happening, you know, any sign of baby yet? So I did like FaceTime a couple of my friends and was like, by the way, baby here. And then like my mum had a cuddle with him and Adam had a cuddle with him. I just sort of rested on the bed at some of the points because I was quite knackered. I do remember just sort of like putting my head back and being like, oh, just close my eyes for a minute. Just close my eyes for a minute. And they did say we had to be kept in for at least 24 hours because the baby's lactate levels were quite high, which was probably due to the distress that he'd been in. So we were like, okay, prepared for 24-hour stay. As we know, I was kept in for 4 days, but I'll do probably a separate video about that. So yeah, we got taken up to the ward at like 10:20. Obviously you have to be on your own, like obviously your partners and stuff can drop you off, but they can't stay. So yeah, I was just kind of left on my own then, really, with the baby. But that's my birth story. I don't know, I'm going to clarify it now more towards the end, the why he wasn't a positive birth story, and that's probably why it's taken me so long to film it. But yeah, my whole thing, whether I got the water birth, whether I got, you know, the pain medication, like the no pain medication birth, the, you know, all of the stuff I said in my birth like preference plan video, yeah, didn't want to give birth on my back, yeah, all of that stuff. I just wanted ultimately a room. Like I just wanted to go in and be like, I'm in labour, please admit me, and just labour very calmly with my birthing partners and just be checked in on. The baby was monitored, just a normal, what I would class as a normal labour experience. And I didn't get that. You know, I wasn't believed for a second time about my like labour, and that's quite damaging for me, and probably would be for anyone. And I think it was more upsetting because I'd spent, you know, the best part of 9 months, and let's not take that away, I got to 39 plus 2, so like I'm so thankful that I got as far as I did, obviously with baby boy, and you know, I'm not taking away from that, like that is amazing, like being able to experience a full-term birth, like I'm so thankful for. But I just wanted to be listened to and feel like my feelings were validated, and that didn't happen, like at all. They didn't believe me. No one was reading my notes. They were like, oh, you can go up to the orchard ward, but visitors aren't allowed until later. So you can labour up there if you want. And it's like, well, it clearly says in my birth plan I don't want to be without my birth partners, like I don't want to be on my own, so why are you offering me that? Like, you're not even taking into account what I'm telling you I need and why I need it. Because obviously I was so scared that I'd probably give birth on my own, and I spent all of Tommy's labour, even though I was told I wasn't in labour, labouring on my own. And I didn't want that again. And it's like, well, they were almost saying, well, you just do that again, it'd be fine. And I was like, no. So yeah, I'd spent a lot of time with Ocean, or the Ocean team at Bedford Hospital, trying to obviously get myself in a really good headspace and a really positive headspace, and get all these coping mechanisms to have like the most positive birth I could, and have control over my birth, and again that was just stripped and taken away from me. And I honestly feel like I'm back at square one. Like, I should be being discharged from the Ocean team now, and I have an appointment next week, and I honestly feel like I'm just back at square one. Like, so it almost makes, I'm not saying it was pointless, because it wasn't. It was so helpful, and I recommend the service to anyone. Like, if you have your version in your hospital trust, or you're at Bedford and you want access to it, then absolutely do. But like, I just feel like I'm back at square one, because I wasn't listened to. Everything was taken away from me, and no one believed me, and all I wanted was just to labour in a room like a normal person, and I didn't even get that. I knew, you know, I couldn't have a roommate. Like, I knew that was out of my control, but they could have put me in a room like that was ready to be laboured in. So yeah, I'm not very happy about that. But anyway, I'm trying to talk to you without getting upset, because I usually do get upset when I talk about it, and I'm trying not to, because I've done it quite a lot. And yeah, I just kind of want to explain why it isn't positive. I think you might read that and be like, oh, I don't understand, or listen to the whole story and be like, oh, I don't really understand why it wasn't positive. But I think given what happened with Tommy, I just wanted a different experience. And yes, I got one because I got a full-term birth rather than a premature birth, but I wasn't listened to. No one believed what I was saying. You know, we're meant to be listened to as a woman, especially in labour, and you know, I just wanted to be believed, and I wasn't. So yeah, if I was to go on to have a third child, I actually wouldn't go back to Bedford. Like, I'm so done. Even to the point where if like one of the boys had to go to A&E, I'm not even sure I'd go to Bedford. I think I'd drive them to Milton Keynes. If it was like non-emergency, like obviously. If it was like really, really emergency, then obviously I'd have to take them to Bedford. But like, again, that's my point. I spent so long with Ocean and a therapist being able to face my fear of that hospital. And you know, because remember way back when, I couldn't even drive past the hospital without like having a panic attack, because obviously the PTSD regarding Tommy's birth would affect me, and I put so much work into that, and I now feel, I mean, not severe, but like I'm already avoiding the hospital, like already. Like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back for me. If I had to have another baby, if I have another baby, I don't want to go there. I might have my like antenatal care there, because that bit was absolutely perfect, and I can't fault that at all, so please don't let me take that away from them. My antenatal care was incredible, especially with all the extra scans and stuff I had. Like, they were so good. But my sort of labour and delivery just wasn't great. So I'd probably have my antenatal care at Bedford, but actually birth somewhere else. Obviously we haven't made any decisions whether we're having a third or not. It's very early days. But yeah. So I'm now back at the point where I don't want to go near the hospital, which was a point I worked so bloody hard to get past, to be back there again, and that really upsets me and disappoints me. So yeah, we shall see. Like, we're all discharged from there now. Me and the baby are discharged from there, so in theory we don't have to go back, which I'm so thankful for. But yeah, I'm not happy. So that being said, I am going to go through the PALS service at my hospital. I rang them today, and I have to write an email of like my version of events, and then they will confirm to me whether it's listed as a concern or complaint, and either way I think it all gets passed back to like the department heads and then gets fed down to like the individuals. So I am going to be requesting my notes. Obviously with Tommy I done it like 2 years later. This time I'm obviously doing it sooner, and I've just requested my whole notes from beginning to end. So from the beginning of my pregnancy till like after giving birth. But obviously ultimately the ones I want to look at are the ones from my birth, because they just take them away from you and you can't read them, and that really annoys me. So yeah, I'm going to request those. Once I have those, I'm then going to write my like full, I'm going to say it's a complaint. Obviously they might list it as a concern, but for me it's a complaint. I'm not happy. So yeah, I'm going to wait for the notes, because obviously I need people's names as well. I know some of them. I'm obviously not complaining about Natalie because she was an actual angel. But yeah, there were quite a few that I was not impressed with at all. So yeah, we will be doing that. So I might do a video where like we review my birth notes together, and I can sort of share some of them with you. I will probably do like a postnatal like mental health catch up once I've seen the Ocean team, and like what put on services as well. Like they should be, like I said, oh I'm gonna sneeze. That's me. Damn hay fever. They should be getting ready to like discharge me and have someone like else go like benefit from this service. And instead I'm probably going to be like staying on it. I mean, I don't know if that's how it works, but obviously I don't really know how it works, which is why I'll do a video about it. But you know, I could be still on their service for however many more months discussing this. So whereas they could be taking on like new people. So again, like that's just stupid. That doesn't help their service at all. Like if they'd have just treated me better, I wouldn't still be under the Ocean team. But yeah, I think I'll do like a postnatal like mental health check-in video with you, and we'll discuss like how my appointment with Ocean goes. But yeah, that's my birth story. I'm gonna go because this has been so long, and I'm gonna go spend time with the baby before we go and pick up big boy from nursery. But if you watched it, thank you so much for watching, and I'm sorry it was not the most positive of videos, but I hope you like found this sort of like raw and honest bit helpful. Like I said, we will catch up about probably like my readmission, and like, well, we'll have a catch up about like the postnatal bit, like straight after he was born, my readmission maybe. I'll also do like the mental health video and stuff like that, I think, just to give you some updates. And then whenever I get my notes, I'll probably slot them into a video somewhere, and we'll discuss that and let you know what they say, because obviously I'm none the wiser to what's in that book. They could have written anything and I don't bloody know. So yeah, I think that'll be an interesting one to share with you. And obviously you do have the right to request your notes, so if you wanted to do that, then do it. I'm also probably going to go through the listening service at my hospital just to see what they say. But yeah, I'm just going to use and abuse the tools that they're giving me, really. And then obviously once I've got all of like my notes and everything, I will be writing to pals at my hospital, and I will obviously update you in a video at some point when I know if that's just going to be classed as a concern or a complaint, and like sort of where it goes from there. So yeah, I'm gonna go because I want to go and cuddle my baby now that I've spoken about his birth and I'm a bit sad. So I'm gonna go cuddle my baby. And I hope you enjoyed my birth story. If you did, please do consider subscribing, giving it a thumbs up and commenting down below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye guys.